Okay, so this situation has gotten pretty bad. Now, if you don't know what's going on, recently Wuthering Waves age rating was changed to a 16+. Now, obviously a lot of people were very happy for that to happen because, again, you know, a lot of people were enticed over to play the game because of Cantarella and the character design and everything like that. But it might not be the case, and it might not be the case that Wuthering Waves actually wanted a 16+ to be a thing, and it was more of a thing that regulators have brought in, and now Wuthering Waves are trying to play catch up to kind of censor a lot of kind of material. And obviously, you know, in previous videos, I looked at some of the changes that Wuthering Waves actually made, including censoring Cartethyia and also changing a detail on Cantarella, which obviously a lot of people called out. And well, now we're finally here at this point, and we finally have some information on who might have actually been causing this and why this is happening. It seems like overall hate for Wuthering Waves at the moment has been at an all-time high, which honestly is kind of, you know, shocking and kind of surprising to me, and I just kind of wanted to talk about it all. So first of all, there was this post. Obviously people are saying that some players are now review bombing Wuthering Waves in, you know, the Play Store due to censorship. Now, these are all 1-star reviews. April 11th, April 11th, April 11th, you know, they're saying, I do not recommend playing this game. The developers are dishonest. They changed to censor the characters' appearance after you spend money to get them. They refuse to apologize, offer explanations, or, you know, a refund. Better stay away. Now, obviously, I do understand why they are angry. I don't think review bombing is the way, especially for anything. But I do think that, you know, obviously they're angry that, you know, things got changed later on and things have got changed, you know, after they actually bought the character. But as I said in my previous videos, this was all in the terms of service if you actually read it. I think they're more annoyed at the fact that they didn't read the terms of service and now they're using the terms of service against them. But again, I do think it is kind of crazy. But obviously, yeah, there's been a lot of people very annoyed, and I saw people even in my comments on YouTube that are very annoyed about this. Now, I don't think it's the biggest of deals in the world to the point where people need to be extremely upset. Now, if they change something absolutely major with the character, obviously, yes, I'll be upset. But there's people in my comments being like, you know, for example, I was talking about the Steam stuff yesterday, saying that they don't even care about the Steam stuff. Who cares about some of the other stuff coming to Wuthering Waves? All they care about is this and what's going on with the censorship, and they're not going to be playing the game until it's fixed. Which honestly, I think if you want to do that, then fine, but I don't think it's the most sensible thing to do. I would keep supporting Wuthering Waves unless they make some major mistake. I don't feel like this is a major mistake. But at the same time, you know, I do understand why some people are very annoyed at this situation. But this might have actually been caused mostly by one particular group, which has actually been called out by this person called Echo Retro, which we actually looked at in a previous video of them talking about some other things to do with this situation, about a big group of Hoyo group fans in China that are nitpicking games, and here is solid proof. So again, obviously, you know, Hoyoverse is a very, very big company, and, you know, they've got a lot of fans, especially over in China. And well, you can definitely guess that there are some pretty extreme fans out there who want to bring down other games, who want to bring down other kind of communities, which, yeah, they're going to set up a group themselves over there and, you know, try to target these different games. It seems like Wuthering Waves could have been potentially targeted by one of these. Now, I don't know if that's true. It might not be true at all. And obviously, in my previous video, I actually listed a couple of kind of sources that I thought might have been the case for this. And, you know, some people got very angry over on Reddit, which I thought was quite funny because they took what I was saying very out of context, because I was saying, for example, maybe Husbando Enjoys over in China might actually be, you know, part of the issue because, you know, they were very against a lot of the Cantarella kind of design, so obviously it works out for them. But I also mentioned in the video as well that it could also be due to, you know, Hoyoverse fans. It could be due to people who just don't like fan service in general. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be a Husbando Enjoy. You could enjoy, you know, other characters and still not like fan service. So again, I listed off many reasons, and for some reason they took that as a personal insult just to husbandos themselves. No, that's not the case. And again, I never even said it was definitely the case and it was all their fault. I think that, you know, it probably isn't their fault, especially after this information has come out. I think, you know, I think maybe there's a small group of them that are doing it. Maybe there's a small group that kind of like that stuff. But apart from that, no, I don't think it is fully husbando oriented people. But again, you know, some people had to take that and run with it. Now, obviously, yeah, here's some of the proof that they actually put down here. Now, I don't really see this as full proof because it is just from a forum and it is just like kind of just text, you know. It's not really anything that is like that damning, but they do go on to explain what this organization is, saying is Zhanjie Jun, which again I've never heard of before. They say Zhan is currently the most extreme of Hoyo fans that has mutated from a broader fan base. It is only a group of this kind that has possibly formed, and indeed has already formed among all mobile game player circles, anime style game player circles, any game player circle or any circle whatsoever except for fans of circles of wandering celebrities, the estimated scale is of around 20,000 people or more, which is quite a large amount. Obviously that is enough people to do a lot of damage to games, to kind of companies and stuff like that, to review bomb it, mass report it, or whatever. They say Censorship consists of entirely of pure Mihoyo fans. They either exclusively play Mihoyo games, or if they play multiple games, they constantly nitpick the other games while finding a way to prove that Mihoyo games are superior. It seems like Censorship has a higher proportion of Honkai Impact 3rd players compared to Genshin Impact players, possibly because Honkai Impact 3rd has a longer history of purifying its player base, resulting in a stronger effect. So essentially they're saying that a lot of these people are coming from Honkai Impact 3rd. Now they say, they claim that they are not MXZ and rather fun seekers or rational Mihoyo critics. However, their actions reveal that they simply are MXZ, which again is kind of crazy. Now obviously, yeah, there's this whole kind of thing talking about them and talking about their past. If you guys want to go see it, I'll definitely leave a link down in the description so you guys can read it all. But essentially what they're saying is that these groups do actually go into other groups and try to bring them down, almost posing as some of these fans. They say Censorship often pretends to be part of other communities, for example like Arknights, Punishing Grey Raven, Tower Fantasy, spamming phrases like Arknights is best, I'm from Arknights, I'll take down anyone who disrespects Eagle Corner, to try and trick targets into thinking that they've angered those communities. So again, they are these kind of communities that don't just like spread mindless hate against another company and just be like, okay, we hate them. For example, like the Kuro Shields and the Hoyo Shields, it's very obvious, they're against Kuro, they're against Hoyo. It's very obvious what side they're on. Whereas these ones, they actually kind of infiltrate the group itself and they kind of pose as Wuthering Waves fans or whatever kind of fans to build up this kind of resentment towards them. Now, that could be for many different reasons. They could be trying to get the Wuthering Waves community to hate a certain group. For example, say, someone says they're from the Arknights community and then start spreading a ton of hate and stuff like this about Wuthering Waves. Well, people aren't going to have a very fond opinion of the Arknights community. And that's just one way that they try to manipulate a lot of things. And honestly, it's kind of crazy that this has been like revealed to a lot of people because, again, it's like pure like kind of manipulation and they're trying to get people angry. That's their kind of main deal, I'm guessing. Obviously, yeah, their main ultimate goal here is to keep Mihoyo games kind of in a positive light, and obviously Mihoyo hasn't been in a very good spot recently, especially due to Wuthering Waves. Wuthering Waves has been absolutely killing it, and they've been doing really good in terms of just getting really great content out there and just overshadowing Genshin Impact, I would say, in terms of updates and in terms of quality. And obviously, as you can probably guess, Hoyoverse fans are not going to like that at all. They're not going to like the fact that that's happening. Now, I say Hoyoverse fans, more particularly this group of more extreme fans. Now, obviously, we see more extreme cases of things happening in China with Hoyoverse fans, Genshin Impact fans, Honkai Star fans, or whatever, of them actually going quite far. Obviously, we had the whole case of the April Fool's event happening with the Scaramouche cat. If you guys remember that, I don't really want to say in this video what actually happened, but it ended up with, some living beings ending up, kind of not living anymore, which again, wasn't great at all. And yeah, it shows you how far some of these communities do go in terms of, I guess, like hating or loving the game. Now, obviously, yeah, that was probably like a kind of separate incident, but it also shows you that, there's 20,000 people here. It's bound to be that a couple of these are pretty angry and pretty extreme whenever it comes to getting across their point of Mihoyo's better and stuff like that, and trying to infiltrate a lot of these groups. Now, yeah, this is very terrible, and I don't really know how, someone could fix this situation, because what it seems like now is a lot of these groups are going ahead and reporting, the Cantarella design to the CCP and areas like that to get them to have issues like the one we've seen with it going up to 16+, and then forcing Wuthering Waves to actually kind of censor some of their characters, which I don't know if that's their plan all along. I don't know if they just meant to just, kind of report it and then see what happened, or if they, exactly knew that, Wuthering Waves were going to have to, I guess, censor some of their characters, and obviously people weren't going to be happy with that one. But hey, we'll have to see what kind of happens in the future, because again, it seems like they're trying to plan something pretty big, and it seems like maybe they've been there for a little while. Obviously, they've talked about Honkai Impact 3rd, so they've been in the background. I haven't seen them like cause much problems in other communities or in other kind of cases. So I don't really know why they've already like kind of propped up, which is especially why I'm skeptical about this article and about what's going on here, because again, it is kind of, I guess, scary to think that someone could just like write something out like this and a ton of people would just believe it. But again, if you take a lot of this information with a grain of salt, because it is coming from this one person, and you know, they do like provide a couple of sources. For example, like this Chinese source on a forum, and if you translate it, it's pretty much like this is a translation of this website. This is from a Spray Dog Encyclopedia, which again, I don't know what this is at all. It seems to be some kind of like Chinese website, the same with this one as well. I'm not going to press that one though, because again, it does seem like a pretty dodgy link, but at the same time, you know, I definitely could see this kind of happening, and it could explain a lot of what we've seen recently with the whole Wuthering Waves situation, and hopefully, yeah, it just does change, you know. Hopefully Wuthering Waves and Kuro Games can do something about it, and Kuro Games can kind of step in and you know, kind of like pick out what kind of these reports are real and fake. But obviously there's not really much they can do about it, especially if they're reporting straight to the government and things like that. All they can do is just respond to the government and respond to what is actually going on, which obviously, you know, they've responded and it's not going in a very good way. Now, one thing that I do wish that Kuro Games does do, and that they do for Wuthering Waves in the future, is just respond on a tweet or just respond on literally anything to just like let us know what is going on, because obviously the censorship stuff has happened, and this happened a couple of days ago, and there's still been no word from Kuro Games themselves on this entire situation, on, you know, the censorship, on literally anything. So it would be really nice to get some clarity on what their plans are with the game in the future. Now, obviously, we do have the live stream coming up for the anniversary version, which could actually add to that, and maybe that's going to be a factor in, you know, finding out more about this situation and what's going on and what their plans are for the future. But it would just be nice to have like a dev post or whatever, just being like, hey, you know, this is why it's gone up to 16. Either, you know, they say it's on purpose, we're trying to get it up to a 16 and we're trying to change a lot of the character design features, or they're saying this was not on purpose and, you know, we're just trying to catch up with whatever regulations there are and everything like that. It would just be nice to know what is going on and why a lot of this stuff is happening, and what they can do for people that maybe, you know, pulled for a character and, you know, they didn't get the right design. But honestly, I feel like for something as small as Cantarella and that small detail on a character, no one is pulling exclusively for that. I know some people want to believe that there are some like kind of SSS tier gooners out there, but there isn't, you know, let's be real. No one is pulling Cantarella exactly for that one detail. Now, yes, you can be annoyed or angry at the fact that they changed it, but I don't think it warrants an entire refund. It's just a change to a character that is very, very slight. And as I said, it's been featured on the TOS already, and, you know, people obviously can't be bothered to read that. So I think they're a little bit annoyed as well at the fact that maybe they didn't read that in the first place. But yeah, overall, this is a pretty crazy situation, and it seems like we finally know, or, you know, have a clue as to where this is actually coming from, where these mass reports are coming from, and, you know, how bad the situation has actually gotten. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you think that, you know, this is a pretty bad situation, or do you think this just might be fake and it's just a random just ton of people? It's not even just a group of Hoyo fans, it's probably, you know, something else, because I don't want to say it's a ton of Hoyo fans just to start a war between Hoyoverse fans. This is just the information that I've been seeing, so if it isn't, then I'll definitely come back and correct that information and keep you guys up to date with whatever is going on. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.